Hello and welcome to another episode of Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzie. I'm your host for today's show. Fortunately, Sid's not joining us today, and he'll be back hopefully in the new year. So don't worry, he'll be back soon. So we shall see him very, very soon. Before I start the episode, I'd like to pay a special tribute to former Liverpool manager Gerard Houllier, who unfortunately passed away yesterday. I grew up supporting Liverpool in the mid-90s, so my sort of memories of Houllier is as in I can remember most of the games during that period of time. Amazing person, such a great manager for the club. He literally revolutionized the club. I think people that followed the Premier League during the 90s, you'd know that the English culture was quite prominent in terms of how players would, socialize quite actively, going out for late nights and all that sort of stuff. But when Gerard Houllier joined Liverpool, he changed that sort of regime straight away. Players would be focused more towards their diets. He changed the way training was implemented at the club, similar to what Arsene Wenger did when he joined Arsenal as well. In terms of recruitment at the club, that changed as well. So we had different philosophy, different way of recruiting youth players as well as experienced players. I remember some of the players that he recruited. So they might not be as high-profile players in comparison to nowadays, but I remember players like Sami Hyypiä, who for me was one of the best centre-backs in Premier League history, and was only signed for a few £1 million. Obviously, nowadays, hardly anyone gets signed for that kind of fee. And then he formed a great partnership with Stefan Hounshaw as well. And then if you go further down the line, you've got players like Marcus Babbel, Didi Hamann. He introduced Steven Gerrard to the team as well at such a tender age where people thought maybe he's not quite ready for the first team, but he saw something in him during the youth days and he was like, yep, I need to have him in the team. Danny Murphy was quite prominent during his time at the club. Michael Owen didn't make his debut under Houllier, but he did, I would say, produce his prime form during Houllier's regime. So yeah, it's such a big loss for the football community, but more so for Liverpool fans. It's arguable to say that I think his time at Liverpool was probably one of his most successful periods during his career. But I think a period of career where he was quite fond of it as well because he was a Liverpool fan before he joined the club. So it was a good match, I would say. He joined in sort of weird fashion where he came in as a joint manager, which, to be fair, I've never heard of that. I think even now, I don't think that's very, very rare you see that to be the case. One of the highlights for Houllier during his Liverpool career was the domestic treble that we did in 2001. Unbelievable season that was. Similar to how Liverpool play now, where we're winning so many trophies here and there, but he brought a different mentality to the club. And it was his team practically that helped us win the Champions League the following year after he left the club. So yeah, I can't speak highly of the manager, Gerard Houllier, great person, part of the Liverpool family. He still pretty much attended games. I think he attended the Champions League games last season and the previous season as well. So I'd like to just say rest in peace to Gerard Houllier. I send my condolences to his friends and family, and he will definitely not be forgotten. So yeah, a very sad loss for Liverpool fans. So let's begin the show with our Premier League match week review. So I think I'll begin with Crystal Palace versus Tottenham. An interesting game, to be fair. I think the way Tottenham are set out nowadays, it's quite evident that they're not a team that will attack straight away. It's not really a Mourinho sort of style of playing football. But they got the first goal. I feel like during the second half, they maybe should have pressed a bit more and tried to attack and try and get the second or the third goal. But it wasn't quite evident. They weren't as adventurous as I think they should have been, to be honest. Harry Kane scored a nice goal. I would say it's a bit debatable in terms of the goalkeeper's positioning. He was central in the goal, but he didn't save it. So I think he blamed it on the wind or the ball swerved quite a few times. I wouldn't say that was the case, if I'm honest with you. Um, but yeah, by to be fair, he had a great game afterwards. So he made up for it with a number of crucial saves, especially the free kick by Eric Dyer. Phenomenal save. So I guess Gato made up for it in the end. Some good performances from Crystal Palace with it. Eze, another stellar performance from him. Literally drove the team to great positions during the game. Added a lot of creativity to the side. His whipped free kick was the winning, was not the winning, but was the equalizer for the team. And if I'm honest with you, I think Crystal Palace deserved the point. I don't think Tottenham did enough to secure the 3 points in the end. So my thoughts would be, or my question would be to you guys: was it 2 points dropped or 1 point gained? For me personally, I think it was 2 points dropped. I think they could have done a bit more to win the game, as they didn't play that badly. But it was just a thing where I feel like Crystal Palace just had a bit more hunger to try and get the equalizer. And with such creative players like Zaha and Eze in the team, and Benteke, who's back in form now as well, which is good to see. So it was always going to be a tricky fixture. But so yeah, I'd say it's 2 point drops if I'm quite honest with you. So the next guy I'd like to speak about is Fulham versus Liverpool. So obviously my beloved Liverpool there. If I'm brutally honest, very, very lucky to get even a point, if I'm honest with you. We played shocking, especially the first half. We were awful. I don't think we actually started playing until the 60th minute. That's how bad it was. So yeah, I was not impressed at all. So a few points I'd like to speak about regarding the game. So we've just got a comment here from Boogie Brown 37. Spurs let the game drift too much. Credit to Palace. I totally agree. That's literally how I saw the game as well. I just didn't think they were adventurous enough to go forward and attack, which is a shame because they're in such great form right now as well. You'd expect them to dominate teams, but also have a bit more of a killer edge against teams where you'd expect them to get the points. But I don't think it was the case during this period. So back to the Liverpool game. Where do I begin? Yeah, so I feel like we didn't start playing until the 60th minute. Credit to Fulham. I think they played unbelievably well. The first half, they played such great football. I know in terms of stats, sometimes the stats isn't the clearer picture. I believe we had roughly 70% possession at half time, but they were the most effective team. They presented more of the chances. They were more aggressive. Unlucky not to score quite a few goals during the game, to be honest with you. So yeah, Boogie Brown has just said another comment regarding Liverpool, this game. I have to agree. I don't think Liverpool were at it from the start. So the second half is such a tricky one. The goal that happened for Fulham. So first of all, great goal by the Cordova Reed. Smashed it in bottom corner. I love the goal there. I think there's slight debate in terms of the challenge before that where Salah got pushed. A bit soft, but it's one of those ones where I think the ball wasn't near either of the players, so it might have been a thing where the referee didn't see that incident. But if the referee was aware, it might have been given as a free kick, so that goal wouldn't have happened. But not taking any credit away from Fulham, that goal was fully deserved. In terms of Liverpool, if I'm honest, I think the free kick was slightly soft. It could have gone either way. I think with VAR and the new rules nowadays, I've got that mentality of like watching football from like 5-10 years ago where it's different rules now. It's a different ball game. So yeah, it's such a tricky one. I don't think it was a penalty personally. I feel it was quite soft. And Salah was actually lucky to score as well. Areola was very close to saving it. But for me, the highlight in terms of a Liverpool perspective was the performance of Curtis Jones. I think he was phenomenal during the game. And, this is the second week in a row where he's been so good for the team. And for me, Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain, or any of the players that are coming back, they won't displace him in this team, in my opinion. I think he deserves to be starting for Liverpool week in, week out right now. He's been our best midfielder so far. So like I mentioned earlier on regarding Tottenham, was that 2 points dropped to 2 points gain, 1 point gain, sorry. And is this a missed opportunity for Liverpool to claim top spot? For me, 100%. This is a game we should have won. No disrespect to Fulham. It's a game where we should have won by a high score line. I just don't think the focus was there from the players, if I'm honest with you. We never started really well. Second half, we still didn't come aggressive or were pressing that high. So it's quite a disappointing performance, if I'm honest with you. But, I guess during this congested period, we'll take that point. Hopefully, it provides some sort of momentum to try and climb up. We've got a crucial match, which might be a defining factor in terms of leading the table as months go on, is Liverpool and Tottenham, which I'll speak about later in the episode. But yeah, I think, it's a missed opportunity, if I'm honest with you. No ways around it, if I'm honest. So the next game, Southampton versus Sheffield United. So my colleague, Sid basically made a prediction early on this season where he felt like Sheffield United might have that second season syndrome and might drop off. And I have to agree with him. I'm quite disappointed with Sheffield United this season, if I'm honest. I know they don't have Henderson, who was a pivotal player for them last year, but they've signed Ryan Brewster, who's from Liverpool. So obviously I know him well in terms of how he plays and stuff. And he's just not been given a chance, which is a little bit surprising because I thought he'd been given at least a run of games to kind of find his feet and possibly get into form as well. But it just hasn't happened for him. So yeah, a bit upsetting for him in that aspect. For me, if I'm brutally honest, I don't think the move to Sheffield United was the right one for him. I would have preferred for him. I think there were a number of clubs linked. So I remember reading that there was interest from Crystal Palace and Brighton, which for me, either team would have been a better option. Probably Crystal Palace, as he's from London as well. So being back to familiar territory would have been a bit more useful for him in that aspect, being closer to his family, which helps as well. You'd be surprised. It makes a big difference in terms of a young player's position. And it would be debatable to see if he would have got a run of games in the Palace team. But I think with Eze and Zaha, and if you added Brewster to that mix, it would have been a good attacking trio into that team. But it is what it is in terms of his decision there. But Southampton team at the moment right now, or one of the teams I should say, great form. Ings was back in the squad as well. Adams scored a goal from a set piece. Armstrong scored a goal from a slight deflection, but it all counts at the end of the day. And Redmond came on as a super sub. And great one to Romeo and finished very nicely in the bottom corner. So pretty much informed Southampton. Vestergaard with another great performance. I was told earlier today that Liverpool have been linked to Vestergaard. I would not mind him in my team whatsoever. So that's an interesting one there. So another one of the informed teams of the league is Leicester. So Leicester, what a great game that was, especially the first half. I think the second half pretty much died down a little bit, but the action was all in the first half. Maddison was just the star of the show, especially his third goal where he dribbled and it was just amazing finish with his left foot. Very, very impressive. It was good to see him back as well. I think he's had quite a few issues regarding injuries and it's affected his sort of position in the team. But yeah, fantastic goal from him. Scored the first goal as well. I think the goalkeeper maybe should have done a bit better. So Matt Ryan would have been disappointed not to have saved the first one. But it's just one of those ones where it just happened. I think the surface helped in terms of, I think it's zipped through as well. So it happens. I still think Ryan's a good goalkeeper. So it's one of those things that happens to goalkeepers, unfortunately. And Vardy as well, who close finish, but did it in a very smart way with his left foot. Great cross from Justin, who's been pretty much ever present in this team since, I believe, the restart of last season. You wouldn't have thought that they'd even miss Pereira right now because he's been out of action, but they've got someone who's just as good and in place and can cover left back and the right back position, because you had himself and Albrighton switch during the game as well, and he looked comfortable on either side. I still prefer to see him play on the right hand side, as it's his natural side, obviously, but he's got more pace, he's more direct on that side, whereas if he's on the left, he tends to cut in a bit more. And I think we should probably have Justin in the same conversations as one of the right backs to watch out for in the England team as well, because you've got Trent, for me, who's number one. No biasness there, but generally I believe he's the best fullback, not even in the country, in world football. You've got Reece James as well, who's providing competition. You've still got Kyle Walker, who's still in the England setup. But, Justin's there as well. I know Wan-Bissaka was there, but I believe he's pledged his alliance to Congo. So I believe he'll be playing international football with Congo. So yeah, I think he's definitely a player to watch out. Some great youngsters in the Leicester team. So yeah. So my question is, are Southampton and Leicester genuine title contenders? Regarding Southampton, I don't think they're title contenders. Maybe I think they're maybe not even top four, if I'm quite honest with you. But I would love for them to be in the Europa League next season. I think they deserve to be playing European football. Whether that's first time next year or 2 years' time, I feel like they're a team that's ready to play European football. Obviously, I think they will probably need to recruit a bit more in terms of strength and depth in the squad, but I would love to see them in the Europa League. I think it's fully deserved. I'm just happy to see Ings playing so much football and scoring so many goals. A player that was at Liverpool but never quite made it for us, unfortunately. But yeah, I would say Southampton are there to be challenging for Europa League. And Leicester is an interesting one, because when I made my prediction at the start of the season, I think I had Liverpool, City, Manchester United and Chelsea. But I don't like to change predictions mid-season, but I can see Leicester really challenging for the top four. And obviously Tottenham in the mix up now as well. So yeah, for the Manchester teams, it's not looking good, if I'm quite honest with you. But I think one of the concerns for Leicester last season was that can they maintain that challenge for top four? Because when the restart happened, it dropped off for them. They weren't able to cement a good challenge towards the end of the season. But they've recruited really well. So Fofana's come in, who looks solid player, and they recruited elsewhere during in the squad. So for me, definitely, I would say they're more challenges for top four. Title contenders for me is a bit too strong of a statement to say at this stage, but they're in the whereabouts, and then it's a funny season this year as well. So you never know how it pans out, and it just remains to see how everything happens there. So I've just been presented with a question from Mental Health Guy. Do you think Tottenham will win at Anfield? No, I don't think so. I think they will present a solid challenge to us, but I don't think they will. I think I can see it being sort of like a draw. I'd probably say like a 1-1, just because of, I think, the way Mourinho is going to set up his team is going to be where he'll score and he'll just park the bus, as they say, and just leave it at that for me. So I don't see a lot of goals in the team, unfortunately. If I'm speaking from a Liverpool perspective, Mane hasn't been in great form as of, I'd say, 2-3 weeks now, unfortunately. So attacking wise, we're not looking good. And one point that I didn't mention actually earlier on was the injury of Jota. So he's out for 2 months. And I feel like that's going to play a big part in our season right now. It's a thing where I feel like when you go into a match, knowing that you've got a solid player on the bench who can come on and make things happen like he has this season, is such a boost for the squad. But knowing that he's not there and we've got so many injuries as well, I think Origi is the only attacker available now from the bench. So my prediction will be 1-1 for this next fixture, but we'll see. We're doing an episode on Friday this week, so we'll see how it goes on. So let's talk about the next fixture that I would like to review is Everton and Chelsea. So a surprise loss for Chelsea, I would say. Goodison Park is always a difficult place to come to. Obviously, as a Liverpool fan, I know it's a difficult place to come, but there were quite a few instances. So Mendy fouled Calvert-Lewin, which was probably the right decision, I think. Calmly slotted by Sigurdsson. Sigurdsson's such a great set piece taker, so never in doubt in that aspect. Some good performances as well. So I mentioned English right back. So Reece James had a really good game as well. Had a good effort with his free kick and also hit the post as well after the free kick was taken. Unlucky not to score, to be fair. One of the star performers, I would say, for the Chelsea team. But yeah, great victory for Everton, who've kind of ruined Chelsea's record this season, where it's the first defeat since Liverpool beat Chelsea on 20th of September. So well done to Everton. I think their form has dipped a little bit, but they're still pretty much there in terms of challenging for the top four. So it'll be great to see how it goes on. So we've got another comment from Boogie Brown 37. Jose takes a draw away and a win at home. That's his approach, especially against the top. Yeah, I co-sign that as well. It's he'll for him, it's like any point will do for him, especially against the top 6 teams. And I think that's been evident in the last few weeks as well. So obviously you'll get the media that will say, oh, he plays terrible football, so boring to watch. And unfortunately, I've heard Tottenham fans say the same as well. But if I'm brutally honest, it's game management. He's not been a successful manager for no reason. He knows what he's doing. So end of the day, that's the price you pay when you recruit someone like Jose Mourinho, where if you want to win and you want to win trophies as well, there will be games where at home, like you've just mentioned, Boogie Brown 37, that he will go for the win and he'll play great football, possibly. Not great football, but he'll get the win more or less. And he'll take the draw. So for him, it's all about gaining points rather than making any losses. It's not about for him, attacking full strength and coming out with nothing at the end. So yeah, you can't argue with that philosophy. Me personally, I've grown up watching Liverpool managers in the past. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, Joao Houllier, who was one of my favorite managers growing up, who played great football, played 4-4-2 formation, had Heskey and Owen as a collaboration. So we played some good. We didn't win a lot of trophies before Gerard Houllier came, but he definitely gave us that foundation. So me personally, I like to see my team playing attacking football, but yeah, you can't debate Mourinho's philosophy in that aspect. So normally when I do these episodes, I cover 5 games that I believe were the talking point of the match week, or that had a lot of the goals, or were the best matches during the week. But I have to mention 2 other matches. So Arsenal and Burnley. I won't speak too much about it because I feel like I've become a slightly of a cassette player with regards to Arsenal. But I will say this: I think the signs are up. Well, there's only 2,000 people in the crowd nowadays, but I think the writings on the wall for Arsenal fans is Arteta out. Me personally, if he does leave, it doesn't change the problem at the club. The problems are a lot deeper than the manager itself. The way the club is run, their recruitment. I don't know who's actually signs the players, because initially Arteta was first team coach, and then start of this season he became manager. So I don't know if the player that they signed were his signings, but recruitment hasn't been done well. I think in terms of the communication to fans, they haven't lowered their expectations, because I remember when they won the Community Shield, Arsenal fans were buzzing like, this is our season, we're going to really challenge for it. But you have to kind of, from a manager's perspective, you need to kind of tone that down and let the fans know, look, this is a long season, we've got lots of games ahead, one game at a time. That's the famous line you hear from Liverpool players, for example, or Man City players. But that is the kind of vision you should have as professionals. So it shouldn't be a thing where you're expecting the most out of your team when you have to be realistic. You have to look at your team and compare it to the current champions. Are you good enough? Can you go player for player, and not to have a biased perspective as well? So there'll be one or two, like Aubameyang for me would be someone that would come into a Liverpool's team because he's such a great finisher, but the rest would have no argument in my opinion. So yeah, got another comment here from Mental Health Guy. As an Arsenal fan, our fan base is terrible. Yeah. I wouldn't want to say the whole fan base is terrible, but yeah, I don't know if you guys have seen the clips from AFC TV, but I think I saw one of Troops where he grabbed the mic from his new co-presenter in America, and I just found that so funny. Yeah, but if you listen to what he says, despite the way he talks, he speaks a lot of sense. People have to be realistic. Arsenal fans are saying, "Oh, we'll sign OR from Lyon or any top player from." I don't know, because they've been linked to so many players. Like, it's not a quick fix where a number 10 or that type of player comes in and the things change. It's just not how it works, unfortunately. So I think this season you have to be a bit more realistic in terms of what to expect from a club. Me personally, sacking Arteta is not the answer. He needs to be given time to implement his vision and the way he wants his players to play as a team. But right now, I know they're saying he's been there for a year, but a year is not enough. Klopp's been at Liverpool for a number of years. We saw the progress. Like, you can't tell me you didn't see the progress last season. Like, the way Arsenal fans were talking during the summer, you'd think, they're the next big thing right now. So that same energy has to be kept throughout the whole season. But yeah, it's such a touchy one to talk about for Arsenal fans because they're such passionate fans. But yeah, I think some of the views that I've been seeing online aren't justified in my opinion. But yeah, it is what it is, I guess. So the other game, Manchester United versus Man City. So such a big build up for this game. Unfortunately, it didn't deliver. Speaking as a neutral, I think Man United fans and Man City fans will agree with me. Such a boring game to watch. There was no ambition from any of the sides to go out there and win the game or score goals. Like, they were happy to just sit back and play, which for me is surprising because it's not like no disrespect, but it's not like both teams are number one and number two right now, and they're trying to play chess games with each other where they try and outsmart each other and in the end get 1 point. You need to try and catch up to try and gain that momentum for this season and challenge for top four, because at this minute there's other teams, like I mentioned earlier on, Southampton, Leicester are pretty much up there right now. They may not be towards the end of the season, but you have to beat them to it. So very, very boring game, unfortunately. And obviously the defeat from Leipzig during the Champions League as well. I would have expected a bit more from Manchester United. I would have expected more of a reaction where, they lost that match, but let's try and fix things in the Premier League. Let's make sure we cement our challenge for top four this year. But yeah, it just wasn't happening, to be honest with you. So we've got another comment from Mental Health Guy. Our goals down across the board in the Premier League. I feel like a lot of teams are having trouble scoring. Do you know what? It's a funny one because teams are having trouble to score this season, but I think it comes down to VAR as well. I think it's ruining the game, in my opinion. I've highlighted this quite a few times over the number of weeks. That's sort of affecting the way the game is being played as well right now. But also, more importantly, some will argue, but I feel like the fixture list right now doesn't suit the players. It's very congested. They're not getting enough rest. Like, for example, the teams that are playing in Europe, Liverpool, prime example, and I know I'm a Liverpool fan, so I'll probably have a bit more to say about this, but we always play on a Wednesday night and end up playing 12:30 on a Saturday. Like, that's just not acceptable. It should be a thing where we can play on a Saturday, but later on in the day. The Premier League aren't looking after the players, in my opinion, in terms of the fixture pile-up. And right now, normally, guys, I do a show every Tuesdays, but because of such high fury of games coming around this week and next week, I'll be doing 2-3 shows a week now, so which I hope you're happy about. But yeah, it's such a big pile of fixtures. I think that's played a part in terms of the lack of goals. Yeah, Yeah, it's been a strange season. I don't even know what to say further to that, to be honest with you. It's just been such a weird season. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So Boogie Brown 37. Both teams did nothing timid. Pep didn't want to get counted. Yeah, that's literally what I was saying. So it was like a chess game. They just didn't want the other person to have the edge on the other team, and it was just such boring match to watch. Like I guess like if this was further down the season and every point counted where you couldn't afford to lose, I guess it would be justified that that is a performance you would have. But we're only in December. You know, this is the moment where you need to pile up as many points as possible because you will see unexpected results during this period. I can definitely vouch for that. And it's a thing where right now they're not in the top four right now, so they need to do as much as they can to climb up the table. But yeah, for me, it hasn't happened for them. It hasn't worked out for them. Pep's the strange one because no one's really speaking about Man City that they're not performing well. For me, they've been very average this season, and that's been me being brutally honest. Manchester United have shown great glimpses of attacking play. They've got great results. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes has been one of the best players performing-wise this season. But yeah, Man City for me have not done much to warrant anything right now, to be honest. So me personally, I think it was a missed opportunity for United. I think they should have attacked a little bit more and tried to get some points. Change the mood for the fans as well, who sure would have been deflated after that loss in the Champions League. So yeah, it wasn't a good advert for Premier League football. Let's just say that, to be honest with you. So this is something I like to do every week. So my team of the week. So I got a bit of stick last week from my co-host Sid, who said that my team was very biased because I had 4 Liverpool players in my team, but Liverpool won 4-0 against Wolves last week. So I think I was justified in that selection. So let me present my team of the week. So let me remove the banners so you can see who my goalkeeper is if you can't see it from the artwork. So the goalkeeper that I've gone for is Crystal Palace's Gator, who for me was on unbelievable form during the weekend. We just got a comment from Boogie Brown. City not attacking with any intensity. They missed Sane and Aguero. Yeah, Aguero definitely. As a rival, I'm a little bit worried about it because I feel like next summer they can go out and possibly buy a top striker like Mbappe or Haaland. I don't want to put that energy in the universe right now, but I just see something like that happening next year where they'll sign a top striker because I think they've got a good striker in Gabriel Jesus, but for me, he's not consistent enough and he's not an elite striker to be leading the line week in, week out. And that's just my opinion. Sane, me and my co-host have spoken about this quite a bit last year. What a mistake on their part. I think Sane wanted to move to Germany, which is fair enough. And he just looks unbelievable there. They've never replaced him. To be fair, those type of players are quite hard to replace. If you think about it, who would you sign in replace of Sane? It's just one of those things that you can't do. So yeah. I think that's to be fair, that's the tale of their season right now. They're not playing with that fluidity or intensity. I think they miss a player like David Silva in the team who dictates from midfield. And in terms of their wingers, apart from Raheem Sterling, I do like the look of Torres, to be honest with you, but it's a funny one where I don't think they have those players that will grab the game by the throat and really attack teams and press down with their attacking play. They just don't have that in their locker right now. So strange season from City. If I've got any City fans, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well. So yeah, back to my team of the week. So yeah, Gator made some phenomenal saves. I mentioned the free kick earlier on that Eric Dyer took, but the save before that where he made a couple saves, which is unbelievable. Harry Kane as well had a couple of shots on him. I think he made I can't remember. He made so many top saves. And Biggie Brown agrees with me, made the save of the season. He made a number of saves of the season, in my opinion. So, yeah, phenomenal player. I actually did have Martinez from Aston Villa, who I thought had a really solid game for Aston Villa. But I think Gator just overshined him with some top saves. And for me, literally kept Crystal Palace in the game. I know I mentioned Eze and Zaha had a good game, but I think he was literally pivotal to that point there. So as you can see, my back four, Ogbonna isn't a traditional left back, but I had to place him in there somehow. So for me, had a phenomenal game, scored a great header as well. Has been one of the standout performers, I think, as well for West Ham. Who've looked really well, to be honest with you. Really impressed with how they played. So yeah, really interesting time for West Ham right now. You've got Michael Keane as well. Excuse me. So Michael Keane has been in form for a number of weeks. I think he's literally been their rock in the side as well. I was thinking of adding Ben Godfrey as well, who's come in and played out of position. So he's played left back, right back as well. And he was close to being in my team of the week. But I think Keane was just unbelievable against Chelsea. Made a number of good saves, challenges and tackles during the game. So, yeah, phenomenal. And I've got Vestergaard in the team as well. So, excuse me. So, Vestergaard last week for me was just phenomenal in terms of not just his defending, the way he passes the ball around and sets up play, but now he's contributing as well with goals from set pieces. He's been fantastic. Probably one of the best defenders this season. So it's quite funny to see that Liverpool been linked to him. So that'd be, it's like any time a Southampton defender plays well, Liverpool are quick to make an inquiry. Hopefully it's not a thing where we sign him and then ends up being pear-shaped where we have a player like Lovren in our hands. But the less we talk about that, the better. So I've just got a question here from Mental Health Guy. Do you think Arsenal have a legit shot at being relegated, or are people being reactionary? I don't think they'll get relegated. If you look at the gap, if they were to notch up a couple wins, they will be climbing up further up the table. But I believe their fixture list isn't the most easiest in the next few games that they have. I don't think they'll be relegated. But can you imagine them getting relegated? That would literally be one of the craziest moments in football, in my opinion, if that ever happened. I can understand why fans are feeling reactionary in terms of the way they're playing, because they're playing they're not playing very bad. It's just that they have no killer instinct in that team whatsoever, and they lack certain creativity in areas of the team. You've got players that are quite similar in their midfield. You've got Partey, who for me was a good signing, but wasn't the one they needed. Like I did say that he would be a game changer, but that's in terms of quality. He brings a lot of quality into that team. But I would play him as the only defensive mid in that team, and then have two centre mids in front who are box to box. But Arsenal don't have those box to box type of players in their squad, so that's what I was saying about Arteta, to give him a bit of time so he can recruit certain players that can come in and play the way he wants to play, because I'm sure that would be the kind of imprint that he would want to play at Arsenal. But I don't think they'll get relegated. I think, it's too early to say that. But I think they'll have. Roy Keane made a cheeky comment saying they have enough in their locker to stay up. So I'll co-sign with him with regards to that. So we've got Partey is a very good signing. I totally agree. I just think it's funny. So when they were signing Partey, they were linked to Owal as well at the time from Lyon. Owal for me is a phenomenal player, but I think they needed another creative player in their ranks. But at the same time, Ozil should be playing as well. So it's such a weird one, because I believe Ozil should be starting that team. I know they might have their issues off the pitch, and I believe that he's got issues with David Luiz as well, which is, you can see in their defense that They're not solid as a team, and they're not compact. They're leaking goals everywhere. So Burnley's win against Arsenal was their second win all season. So it shows that they're not a solid unit right now. But yeah, they've got a lot of work to do. There are a lot of players that are probably there that have been there for too long. So if I was to think on top of my head, I would say Lacazette has been there for a number of years. And he hasn't done much, if I'm quite honest with you, which is a shame because I really liked Lacazette before he signed at Arsenal. But he's not been pivotal in any of their play. Willian was a weird signing for me. I don't think that was the right player for them. But yeah, I think they've got a lot to do. I don't know what the setup is at Arsenal, if they have a director of football or not. But if they haven't, it should be something to implement, because speaking from how Liverpool recruit players, we have a transfer committee and there's a collection of people that scout throughout the world, and then they would touch base and then highlight which players they believe should be in line for recruitment or have the right style or statistics for us to further recruit them or further scout them as time goes on. I don't know what the setup is in Arsenal, but Partey, I agree, it's a great signing, but they've got a lot of improvements to do throughout that squad. So back to my team of the week. So Justin is my right back. I mentioned him earlier. Played great during the game. Played on both flanks as wing back, and his assist for Vardy's goal was a lovely cross in my opinion. So yeah, fully deserves to be in my team there. So Susek, who's an interesting player, is one of my midfielders for the team of the week. He reminds me, and I said this in my previous episode as well, he reminds me of Fellaini in terms of the way he is. Like, very big guy, very solid, has great strength on the ball. But, during set pieces, he comes there and he scores vital goals, and he has been for a number of months now. So the perfect player for David Moyes, who obviously had Fellaini during his time at Everton. Similar style of players as well, not probably the most attractive on the ball. But yeah, I think a very good signing for West Ham, and he's been very solid in their midfield. So credit to him, and fully deserves to be in the team. So I've gone for Eze in my midfield. I had him last week. I feel like I'm a bit of a fanboy of Eze because I can't stop talking about him because he's been my team of the week, I think, 3 times already this season. He's such an exciting player to watch. He really is. He's just changed the way Crystal Palace play. Whenever I would watch Crystal Palace, it'd be pretty much very predictable how they play. There's nothing adventurous or in the attacking, so there's nothing there where you're like, oh wow, that was a great skill, or none of the players had a lot of flair apart from probably Zaha in that team. But he adds so much to that squad where he's a set piece taker as well. So obviously his free kicks are quite good. He can take corners, dribbles with the ball. So attacking from deep, it adds a different dimension to their attack. Big player for me, in my opinion. So yeah, I had to add him in my team. Like, just been a phenomenal player, and I think he definitely helped Palace get the point over the weekend. Maddison, who I mentioned earlier on, started a show for Leicester, in my opinion. That goal, for me, that's one of my favorite goals of the week, where he dribbled a little bit there and then left foot and then just curled it around. Beautiful goal. So yeah, definitely has to be in the team. So another player is Lookman. So Biggie Brown 37 agrees with me. He was great this weekend. He really was. Lookman was fantastic. Such a great attacking player, which I'm really happy to see him in the Premier League, if I'm honest with you, because he's gone to Germany quite a few times. He's come back to the Premier League, but was never given a chance at Everton. So I just felt like Fulham was the right club for him, where it allowed him to play week in, week out. And it's just good to see him, because I remember seeing him for Charlton, and he has such great potential there. And it's just, I think going to Germany was a good move, but the clubs that he was playing for, maybe he just didn't get enough game time. But yeah, he was running rapid around a lot of Liverpool players. I remember the challenge that Gini was trying to get him off the ball, and he just shrugged him off and kept on going down the line. So yeah, he had a very, very great game over the weekend and was pivotal in their draw, I would say. So and also another thing as well regarding that penalty he took a few weeks ago. So I was quite defensive for him in terms of the media were quite, what's the word? They were quite rude, to say politely, in terms of what he did. And a number of ex-professionals were not saying the right things. Where I remember Andy Townsend from who was on TalkSport, saying that players that don't have the capability shouldn't try things like that. But if you're stopping a youngster from trying these moments or playing with flair and freedom on the pitch, you're going to make them very predictable. It'll be the players that England used to have back in the day. Nowadays, all of our players have so much flair. So you can't block that out in terms of how a youngster develops in the league. And I feel like my co-host Sid mentioned it, and I think Andy Townsend mentioned Ramos as an example that he's someone of quality and can do that. But it's funny, the following week in international, I forgot who they were playing against, but Spain had 2 penalties, and I believe he missed both of them. And the second one was literally identical to how Lookman missed. So if you haven't seen that, go on YouTube, and it's right there for you. So if anything, I might even put it on my social media later on today to kind of prove my point. But yeah, don't discourage young players to play the way they should play. If you're an attacking player, play with freedom and creativity. That's how I go on about it. So yeah, Lookman fully deserves to be my team of the week. Another player is Neto. So I know Neto normally plays on the left wing, but during the game he did play on both wings, and I had to fit him in there because he's been one of their top performers alongside Podence as well this season. Very effective, very direct in his play, and a great ability with his left foot. Great shot on him as well. So he tried the Robana assist and then Donker's shot, and then Martinez saved it. Would have been such a great goal if that had gone in. But yeah, he's been a very, very refreshing player to see in the Premier League. Young player as well. I'm sure we've seen a lot of goals from him as the season goes on. And finally, Jamie Vardy. So I've said this in the past. In my opinion, one of the greatest Premier League strikers in the modern Premier League era, you can say. Big statement, I know, but I feel like if you look at his numbers, he's right up there in terms of where he's come from, how late he's developed in his league, and the consistency that he has had in his career. 34 years of age. For me, I read a quote today, he could be playing until he's 40. Would not disagree with that. I think he literally could. And he hasn't slowed down. He's still rapid on the pitch. So yeah, and for me, he had a great performance against, who did Leicester play? Forgotten who Leicester played now all of a sudden. Brighton, sorry. So Leicester against Brighton. So yeah, so fantastic play from him. I like those striker goals where you score from the 6-yard box, but it was quite tricky because the way Justin crossed it could have been a thing where the goalkeeper could have blocked it. But if you're taking his right foot, I don't think that would have been a goal. So it was quite smart the way he finished that. So yeah, very impressive Vardy this week. So yeah, so that's my my team of the week there. Okay. So it's that time of the year, guys, where you're going to see a lot of transfer rumors. So I thought, let me pile up some of the most intriguing or prominent rumors that have come about in the last week. So I'll give you my verdict if it's a thumbs up or thumbs down from me. So the first one is Dele Alli to PSG. Yeah, I feel sorry for Dele Alli. I don't know what's happened since Mourinho's coming out. When Mourinho first joined, he was unbelievable, scoring so many goals. It felt like he was being back to his informed self, but it just hasn't panned out for him this season. Do I see this move happening? To be honest with you, he's not their traditional type of midfielder because they don't really play with a number 10. But I think for him, it would be a good move in terms of his career. It could help in terms of playing in a different league, different surrounding. He might just need a fresh start, a fresh challenge somewhere else. So, and And PSG is a great club. So for me, that's a thumbs up. I want to see that happen for him, for his career as well at the same time. Is it realistic? I'm a bit on the balance with that. I'm not sure how much truth there is in it, but we'll see how January pans out for him. So the other rumor is Dybala to Tottenham. So this was quite a prominent rumor in the summer. I'm not going to lie. When I did see that rumor, I was like, no, please, he can't go Tottenham. That would just literally, for me, I know they're challenging right now, but I would be like, yep, that is the rival right there. Dybala would be literally a game changer. Would he join Tottenham now? It's an interesting one. I can see him fitting into the team, but if I'm coming with my Liverpool hound, nope, I don't want to see him in the league. Will it happen? I don't think it will happen, if I'm being brutally honest. I don't think, and this is no offense to Tottenham, I don't think from his side he would find Tottenham to be an attractive club to join right now. If they were to win the league, maybe next year it might be. Next summer would be a different story. But I think if he was to leave, he'd probably set his sights on a club like the typical Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, PSG. Those are the clubs I think he'd look at before he considered any other club, and Man City and Liverpool as well, to be honest. So, I think it's a thumbs down because I don't think it will happen, and I believe there's actually talks that they're trying to get him to sign an extension. So, this story might have come out from his agent to try and get an improved terms in his contract, which is the way it is nowadays, unfortunately. Speaking of agents, Pogba to Juventus. So his infamous agent Mino Raiola has been quite vocal regarding Pogba's position at the club. Do I see this happening? I believe it's a loan move that they're suggesting right now. On loan, I can see it happening, but after that, I'm not sure if clubs can afford to have Pogba in their books, to be honest with you, because he'll come with a big wages, a lot of sort of sign-on fees in terms of for the agent, who will definitely want a big portion of the transfer fee, but bonuses regarding goals, assists, appearances, and all that sort of stuff, plus commercial rights. So it's not just the transfer fee and the wages alone; it comes with a big package. So I'm not quite sure to be honest with you, if it will happen. So no way, some with only. So I'm not sure if that's regarding Dybala or Pogba, but yeah, I think for either players, to be honest with you, it will probably happen in the summer. I think for Tottenham, it will depend on how they finish. So Boogie Brown just confirmed regarding Pogba. Yeah, I think so as well. I would have said that beforehand, but I think because of the comments made by the agent recently, it might change the stance at the club where they're like, if we can get him out on loan, because I'll be honest with you, Pogba's not really missed in terms of whenever he doesn't play. I don't feel like United miss him at all because you've got a talisman in Fernandes now, and Van der Beek, who's a quality player. A lot of people in Holland are saying that he made a bad move right there. But if Pogba was to go, that's two great midfielders you have in the books that can start week in, week out. So for me, I would sort of review the situation and take it from there. So he's clarified some now more likely. Yeah, we'll see how that pans out. I think it's just one of those ones where agents and players will talk right now, but we don't know entirely what's happening behind the scenes. But if there was a bid from Juventus regarding a loan move, if I was United, I would consider it personally. But obviously, it depends on the terms regarding is it a definite fee at the end of that loan period, or is it an option to buy? So those kind of factors would determine that move. But I guess the argument would be that would you want to sell Pogba as you're challenging for top four? But the old saying is that if the player is not in it, it shouldn't be at the club. So yeah, we'll see how that pans out. So for me, that's all I say. Thumbs up or thumbs down? I'd probably give that. I'd literally have that in the middle. For me, it's not one or the other. So the other rumor that's come about today is Ben White to Liverpool. So Ben White is a player that has been scouted for, I believe, a couple of years now. Well, in terms of to the public, because obviously we don't know how long Liverpool have been scouting these youngsters. But for Leeds last season, I was very impressed with him. I didn't see him every game, not Leeds fan, but I did watch a lot of Championship games. Sorry, and he looked good. Great on the ball, really great ability on the ball. Can dribble from the defensive line as well and come into play into midfield and create space for other players to attack, and has great passing ability, so can do nice through balls to the attackers as well. This season, I think you can kind of tell the different levels between the Championship and the Premier League. He's done well, don't get me wrong, but I think there's a lot more to give for him as well. So we've got mental health guy. Aouar to Arsenal, Eriksen to Arsenal. Aouar to Arsenal, no, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't see him leaving Lyon for a club like Arsenal, if I'm being brutally honest. Eriksen to Arsenal is an interesting one, I think it would be great for banter if he did come. Tottenham fans won't be happy for me to say that. But yeah, it's not worked out for him at Inter Milan, to be honest. He's been underperforming there. So would he come back? I don't think he will, I think he'd go to... If he's got interest from other clubs, I don't think he'd consider a return to the Premier League, because the whole point was for him to have a new challenge and experience a new culture and lifestyle. So I don't think he would come back to the Premier League at this stage anyway. So neither for me would pan out for Arsenal, unfortunately, for January anyway. So Boogie Brown, 37. Ben White linked to United also, alongside Upamecano. So yeah, Upamecano's been heavily linked with Liverpool, quite heavily as well. Regarding to Upamecano, I don't think anyone will sign him until next summer. Red Bull Leipzig are very, very stern negotiators. So if they have a player that has a release clause, they wouldn't consider negotiating before that. Because that's how Liverpool agreed a deal with Red Bull Leipzig for Naby Keita. So we signed him a year before he arrived at the club. So yeah, it's a tricky one. I think. I don't think he'll come in January, but next summer a lot of clubs will come in for him. But regarding Upamecano, so I always get asked by Liverpool fans, like, who's your number one target? For me, that is a prominent name that comes up, but I'm a big fan of Schürrle from Ajax. I've watched him play against us a couple of times in the Champions League. I've been really impressed with him. So for me, he's more of a right fit in terms of how we play. Upamecano has great ability on the ball, but is injury prone, which would be a concern for a lot of the big teams. So if he's your star signing, and if he was to be injured, then it goes, all your plans for the player goes out the window, really. So Ben White, if he was to go United, I'd be quite upset, because I think he's got great potential to do well in his career. So I hope that doesn't pan out. So another rumor that I didn't come across was Trippier to United. You know what? That would be a great signing. I've said to my co-host Sid, who's also a big United fan, as you all know, if I was the manager of United, I'd trial Wan-Bissaka as a centre-back and have a player like Trippier on the right. I think that would be a great defense, if I'm honest with you. If you had, I don't rate Maguire highly, but because he's your prominent defender, I'd say Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, who's got great pace, obviously has great defensive abilities. So for me, he can be nurtured into a centre-back, in my opinion. And if you've got a great right-back in Trippier, who's known for delivery of the ball in terms of set pieces, and scores goals as well in open play, for me, that's quite an important signing in that aspect. So yes, I think that's a interesting move, to be fair. I don't know how he's doing to Atletico, if he's out of the team or he might want to come back to the UK. I'm not too sure. But if, for what I've just said, if that is the plans of Ole, then obviously he's been watching our podcast, not really. But yeah, if that is the plans that they have, then yeah, I think that's a good move. But if Wan-Bissaka is still regarded as the right back for United, I think it'd be a bit of a shame to just put him on the bench like that. I don't think he deserves to be displaced in the team. I don't think he's a weak link in my opinion. So, Dan James to Leeds. Okay, that's an interesting one. That can definitely work actually because I'm not sure actually because Dan James predominantly plays on the right, but I know he can play on the left as well because Rafinha for me is looking really good at Leeds United right now. So I wouldn't displace him in the team, but Dan James definitely needs a move for his career. He's not getting any games at United, so yeah. So I think you'll see him heavily linked to a number of clubs in the transfer window. And then one interesting rumor that came about: Sami Khedira to Everton. So I'm not sure regarding what the fee is, but I think because he's got such a great relationship with Ancelotti during their time at Real Madrid, and Khedira has been at Juventus for a number of years now, but he's not playing much due to having injuries in the past. He's looking for a fresh challenge. So I can see him coming to Everton. I'm not sure if he's the right player they need because they've got Allen who does a similar sort of job. They've got Doucouré who can play DM, but can also play a bit more box to box as the number 8. And they've got Gomez in their team as well, who's been quite decent for them, to be honest with you. So I guess he'll add quality and depth into his team. But I think I've also noticed that he's been linked with a move back to his a club that he supports, Stuttgart, who I'm sure over the weekend you saw beat Dortmund 5-1, I believe it was. And unfortunately, that resulted to the Dortmund manager being sacked. So they're a team that's on the up. So I can see that happening more where he goes back to his boyhood club and playing a bit more prominent part in terms of developing our young players. Because that is something he said in an interview recently where he said he'd like to join a club where he can nurture the youngsters. So I think for him, Khedira to Everton, it's a 50-50. It could happen, but I can see him going to a club like Stuttgart, which is his boyhood club. So I can see that happening at this stage of his career. So Biggie Brown has brought another question for me regarding transfers. Do you think Declan Rice will be chased in January? He will be, but I'm not sure if anyone will be able to sign him. For me, Declan Rice is a funny one. So my co-host believes that I've got some sort of agenda against Declan Rice. There's no sort of agenda regarding his talent. For me, it's more of that media perception where whenever he's linked to clubs for like 100 million. For me, he's not 100 million valued player, in my opinion. But he's a great player and he's a solid player for West Ham. West Ham needs to do the most to try and keep him at the club this season at least. And they can review their position in the summer. But I think Chelsea were quite heavily linked to him in the summer. But I don't think they need a midfielder right now because they're doing quite well. Manchester United, that would be a good fit, in my opinion. If Pogba was to leave, I know for a lot of fans that wouldn't be like the automatic replacement, but I think he would be a great fit where Declan Rice playing DM and then you've got Van der Beek and Fernandes. That's a good balance, in my opinion. So you never know. United and Chelsea would be the ones that would be linked to him, but if I'm being honest, I don't see it happening in January, but next summer, you never know. It could happen, to be fair. So Boogie Banner said replacement for Matic. Yeah, Matic as well. I don't watch a lot of United games. Obviously, I watch them whenever I can, but Sid speaks very highly of McTominay. So that's probably someone that I think he sees who's in place. So I'm not sure how you perceive McTominay in the United team. And he talks quite highly of Fred. I don't know why he does that, to be fair. I have no agenda against Fred, but I just don't rate him as a player. That's just my honest truth there. But yeah, I think he would be a good replacement for Matic, to be fair. Different types of player. Matic brings a lot more defensive ability into the side, does the dirty work, as we would say. Whereas Declan Rice does that as well, but has more to his game. So it will definitely be an upgrade in terms of having a player that has more passing range within his locker. So yeah, we'll see how it pans out. But I can see him being linked next summer more so than January, to be honest with you. So let's just quickly do a roundup of fantasy Premier League. So I've had a dreadful few weeks. If I'm honest with you, I got 50 points last week, but yeah, it's not looked good for me. I believe I'm still 20th in our league, which is not good because I was third 2-3 weeks ago. So yeah, quite disappointed with that. But with regards to our league, I have to give a shout out to a particular person named Abdulaziz Sharif, who got 84 points this week, which is unbelievable. So well done to Abdulaziz. Really, really good. 84 points. That's nearly twice as what I got. So well done, mate. Really, really good in that aspect. So I was going to do a preview of match week 13, but I sort of highlighted it earlier in the show. I can see this game being a draw. I don't think Liverpool are in best of form right now in terms of the attacking sense, and with Jota out as well. For me, it's not something where I'm expecting a lot of goals from either side, if I'm quite honest with you. So my prediction would be a 1-1 result. I'd like to see Son score because he's one of my favorite players outside Liverpool. And for Liverpool, I'd like to see Firmino get a goal because I feel like he needs a goal or two to try and get that confidence back. He has been performing better in the last few weeks, so big fan of Bobby Firmino. So I'm hoping he comes into fruition in terms of how he plays and does well in the next few weeks, as we've got such a congested fixture list coming up. But yeah, so that wraps us up for today. So thank you for tuning, everyone, and thank you for your comments as well. So don't forget to comment on this video underneath, like and subscribe, and also share the video to your friends and family. I've got a special announcement as well. So I mentioned on my socials today. So the special announcement is that I'm having a special episode this week where you are given the chance to come on live with me on the show and express your opinions on anything football. You can ask me questions directly if you'd like, or give me your views on your team or anything that's happened during a match week. The floor is yours, literally. So I'll provide more details as the days go on this week. And so, yeah, so stay tuned. So we'll be back Friday at 8 p.m. If there is any changes to the timing, I will keep you guys informed. So that's our scheduled our show for this week. But yeah, so thank you for listening, guys, and we shall see you on Friday. So take care, guys.